examine compound expressions in operator precedence. So you can see here we have two expressions. It's print 5 plus 2 times 3. So in this case we have to calculate the multiplication first and then add 5. So 2 times 3 is 6, and add 5 we got 11 for the first row. And then in the second row, because we put 2 plus 5 in the parentheses, so 2 plus 5 is 7, and 7 times 3 is 21. That's why on second line we got 21 here. So the operation of arithmetic in Python is directly follow the operation in math. Next, we have chain assignment and chain comparison. So we know that we can make the comparison in Python. So for example, you can print 5 smaller than 7, and this line gonna return, the third line gonna return for you true. Let's test it out. So this line, third line gonna return for you true. You can see that it's true here, but it's not in the scope of our exercise today. So first of all, we're gonna do a chain assignment. So a chain assignment is that when two variables has the same value, you can assign that value to those two variables at once. You don't have to do it separately. So in this case, both x and y have the value of 0. Therefore, you can just have a simple syntax of x equal to y equal to 0. We don't have to make any more complication like x equal to 0, then y equal to 0. Just x equal to y equal to 0. And then when we print x and y, we're going to expect x to be 0 and y to be 0 as well. So we in fact get the two continuous succeeding 0. Next we can do so we have chain assignment. Similarly, we can do chain comparisons. So we have x be any numbers between 5 and 10. So 5 smaller than x smaller than 10. And then we can, that's chain comparison. This means this is just x bigger than 5 and x smaller than 10 simultaneously. So when you print now x is smaller than 11, is this gonna return when you are true? Because of course x is in the range of 5 to 10, so it's smaller than 11. And the next line, the sixth line, x is gonna be bigger than 12. That's gonna return false because of course, right? A number in the range of from 5 to 10 cannot be bigger than 12. So you can see one true and one false. That's the answer. Alright. Next, we're going to talk about control flow. That's the end of 1.3, and now we're going to come to 1.4, which is control flow. So control flow is just conditional sentences in Python. So the control flow is quite simple. So let me open the pin. No, actually I'm gonna search for the if L control flow. Here you can see when we pass we can pass a value into a conditions. If it's true, the code gonna execute the body of if, and if it's false, the code gonna execute the body of else. And similarly with elif, we have an intermediate branch here, so we can search elif as well. So there was something like this. This for if, elif, and else. Okay. So when we have a initial condition, these two, we're gonna execute the if statement. If it false, they're gonna execute the condition for elif, and then if all case are checked but one, then they're gonna that's the program gonna execute the condition for else, right? So that's if if, and this is if normal, I think. If control flow here. So let's do the exercise to better understand these conditions. Here we have if condition. So let a to be an integer that we're gonna input from the keyboard. So let a to be an integer we enter from keyboard. So a equal to input, enter an integer. So we have to force the data type to be int, because here we are working with integer. And then we're gonna set the remainder to be the modulo of 2 and 2 of a and 2, because we want to find the remainder of the division between 2 and between a and 2. Now when you divide a number for a, there was two cases, right? So the remainder can be either 0 or 1, right? So if the remainder is 0, this number is even, so it's divisible by 2. Or if the remainder is 1, so it's remainder. So if remainder is equal to 1, then it's not divisible by 2, because of course there's a remainder, right? So not divisible. Okay. So we need a program to check whether this number is divisible by 2 or not. So therefore we can use an if-else statements to do that. So if the remainder equal to 0, and we want the computer to print out the integer is divisible by 2, or else if the integer, or else if the remainder is equal to 1, then the number is odd, so it's not divisible by 2. So we want to print that out too, right? So just if and else here, like that. Let's check. Enter an integer. Let's check for the integer 4. So the integer is divisible by 2 because 4 is 2 times 2, of course. And let's check for another one. For example, an odd number 13. Okay, 17. So so the integer is not divisible by 2, as you can see here, because in this case we enter an odd number. So that's the if-else flow. I'm gonna comment it out, and we're gonna do another part. We're gonna do the if-else and elif. Okay. Then we have a little bit more to go. Okay. So if-else and elif. So you have seen that for the if-else loop, we have two cases, right? It's whether the number is divisible by 2 or not. So the remainder can only be 1 or 0 when we do the division with 2. So that's the binary case. However, in reality, we're gonna have more than one cases like that. For example, let's consider the division of an integer and 3. So similarly, we're gonna input the integer from the keyboard, but this time the remainder gonna be set as the modulo of the number and 3, not 2. So there's a difference there. Okay, so when you divide a number by 3, you have a couple of cases of remainder. So remainder when divided by 3, so when divided by 3 could be 0, right, or 1 and 2. So we have 3 cases, right? So in this case we have 3 cases. So for a control flow statement that have more than 2 cases, we're gonna have to use if, elif, and else structure. So in this case we're gonna do exactly that. We're gonna use if, elif, and else. So we start up similarly with the division by 2. So similarly we're gonna start with an if statement. So if the remainder is equal to 0, then we announce that this number is divisible by 3. Of course, right? Because when the remainder is 0, then the division is complete. But now we have the second case. So for the middle cases, the intermediate cases, we're gonna use the statement elif. Right? We're gonna use the statement elif. So in this case, elif, the remainder is equal to 1. So comparison. Then we're gonna print out the integer has remainder of 1 when divided by 3. And for the remaining case, for the last cases, so in any of the middle cases, after the first cases we use if, any of these middle cases we're gonna use elif, and for the last cases we're gonna use else, right? So else, it means the last case, else because the remainder can be 1, 0, 1, and 2. We have figured out 0 and 1 cases. So the last one is just the case where the remainder is 2, right? So the last case we have is when the remainder is 2, right? So then we use else. So then we're gonna print out the remainder of 2. Let's test this program out. So let's test number 11. So in this case, we actually test out the last cases, the else statement where the remainder is 2. Let's check another one. So for example, we just input 3. There you go. 3 is divisible by 3 itself. Okay, that's very good. Okay. So you can see for control flow, for conditions, you can have 2 types statement, either it's if else, if there's only 2 cases, or if elif else, if there are 3 cases or more. Okay, and you can have multiple elif cases, a statement in between. So let me give you an example of more than 3 cases like that. Okay, it's a lot. Okay, just wait me a moment. So for example, another cases, if you want to test out the division of number A with 4, we're gonna have more than 3 cases. In this case, we have to have another elif statement. So elif remainder equal to 2, because the last case gonna be 3, because when you divided a number by 4, you can have four cases of remainder: 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, not 4, 3. So then we have to print now the integer has a remainder of 3 or 2 when divided by 4. So this is divisible by 4. Remainder of 2. Divisible by 4, and the remainder of 3 and divisible by 4. Okay, so let's check it out. So let's say 10 has the remainder of 2 when divided by 4. Okay, so you can have more than one elif statement. Okay, you can have more than one elif statement. Okay, so let's test it out. So 17, and then we remainder of 1. Okay, so I will comment now this exercise by division now, so we can move on to next exercises. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the next part, which means loops. So loops is one of the basics component of programming. So for example, well, let's have a more clear example, an easier example than we want to do in these exercises. So for example, we have a list here. This one, it's gonna be equal to just a list of numbers. Okay, just wait me for a second. So for example, here we just have a list of numbers. Yeah, just don't pay attention to the loop part here. So just we have a list of numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all. And maybe I don't want to start with number, just letter, right? A, B, C, and D. Okay. So now I want to print out those letters inside this one. So print letter inside this one. But I want it to each on a different line. Each on each individual line. Okay. So we can use a for loop for item in this one, and we can just print item also, and then it's gonna print for you A, B, C, D, E. You can see here A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D is getting printed out. So that's the idea of a loop. So the loop is that when you give out the loop, the program gonna search from the beginning of the sequence, in this case list. So we're gonna search for the first item in the sequence, and it's gonna do the program or the request, the code that you're gonna ask the program to execute. And then after it finish with the first instant, it move on next to the second instant, and then it move on, and then it's gonna execute the command again, and then it's gonna move on to the third instant, then it execute the command again, and then the fourth instant, and then it execute the command again. So the program stop when the instances, the item in the list ran out, there's no more item, and you specifically tell the program to stop. So the loop gonna stop when when the items been run out, or you specifically told the program to stop. Okay, so that's the idea for the loop. Comment it out. So now, what we have here is that we have a while loop. So there's some two type loop in Python, which is the while loop and the for loop. So let's examine the while loop first. So the while loop is that as long as a condition is true, the loop gonna continue. So yes, okay. So let me print a separation line. So let's print a separation line. Okay. There you can see here, separation line. So as long as the condition is true, the code gonna be executed. So that's a while loop, and for a while loop we don't know the ending. For example, here we only know that y is less than 10. We're gonna keep looping through the list. We just have a condition. We don't have a designated end. Okay, so for the while loop we don't know the ending, we just know the condition for the loop. Okay, all right. So the first example of the while loop is that first of all, initially we start a variable y to be 0. We start a variable I to be 0, and yi is less than 10. Well, you know, yi is less than 10. We're gonna print out y squared, and then we're gonna add 1 to y. So first of all, y is 0. So 0 squared is 0. So we print out 0, right? So 0. So 0. So we're gonna print out 0 squared, which is 0, right? But 0 squared. So then we add 1. So 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. Then we're gonna print out 1 squared, right? 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, right? Right? And then 1 plus 1 is 2. And then we print out 2 squared, right? 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. And these conditions are being kept going because well, you know, in this case 0 is less than 10, right? 1 is still less than 10, and 2 is still less than 10, right? So as long as when we keep adding 1 to the number is still less than 10, we're not going to print out the square of that number, right? So we're going to keep going. So we're going to keep going. So 2 squared is 2, and that 1 is 3. 3 is less than 10. So 3 squared. The next one is 9. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 squared. Well, 4 is less than 10. So that's 16. Then 4 plus 1 is 5. Less than 10. So 5 squared is 25. Keep going. 6, 5, and 6 here. So it's 6 here, 7 here. Okay, a couple more. So 6 here, 7 here. This is 36. And this is 49, right? And then 7 plus 1. So 7 plus 1 is 8. still less than 10. Print out the square is 64. 8 plus 1 is 9. Still less than 10. Print out the square, so it's 91. Okay, and 9 plus 1, so that's 10, right? 10, and that's equal to 10. So we break, okay, we break the loop, okay? So that's algorithms. Okay. So we keep adding 1 to the number, and if the number is less than 10, we're gonna print out e squared. That's the while loop. And then when the number reaches the condition, the number violates the condition, which is I less than 10, we're gonna break, we're not gonna print out that statement, that wrong statement. And we're gonna stop before the condition is wrong. Okay? Alright. That's the first example. Okay, so the second example of the while loop. So the second example of the while loop. So the first example we have analyzed is here. The second example we have is that here we have a data and we have a variable j equal to 0. Okay. Alright. So we want to separate this one out. Okay. So here, in this example, we have a list here. We call it data, and data are integer from 0 to 9 with a repetition of 1. We have one repetition of 5 here, right? Okay, so in these exercises, we have a data here. Data is just a bunch of number, integer here. I made it integer so for an easier thinking. But the target, the example 2 is that we're gonna find out the position of the target. So we're gonna find out the position of target in the list. Okay, so we suppose the target is actually inside the list. So here the target, our target is number 8. So in this case, the index of the target in data is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the 5 is repeated, so this is 6, 7, 8, 9. So when we want to return the target, we want the program to return for us 9 as the position of 8. So we want to be returned 9. Okay. So here's the algorithms. So the goal of the algorithm is that we find out the position of the target, which is 9. So here's the algorithm to find out the position of target. So we're gonna look through the list. So when j is a variable we just create out. So we set j to equal to 0. When j is less than the length of the data, and j is different from target, we're just adding 1 to j. And if j is equal to target, then when we print out the data, the index of the target, then we write. Okay, so why this algorithm work? So first of all, j is equal to 0. So then we add 1 because now j is not equal to target. Target is 8. So now j is added 1. So j is now come to 1 because we added 1, right? Add 1. Okay. And then we're gonna add 2. Add 1 again. Is j equal to 2. So we keep adding 1. So keep adding 1 to j. So now it's 2. Next is equal to 3. So 3 is still not equal to target, right? So 3 is not equal to target. So add 1 is 4. So we have loop from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so we have come to here. Okay, now when it add 1, it's gonna equal to 5. But now at this point we have come to data number. Data now is equal to 0. Here data is equal to 1. Okay, so next here data is still equal to 2. Next here data is equal to 3. Okay, so next here data is equal to data is equal to 4. Okay. Okay, so now next data is still equal to 5. Data now is equal to 5. But now when j is keep being added 1, which is equal to 6, the data is not 5, it's still equal to 5 because it's not increment, because the 6th element of the list is actually 5, right? So the data is not increment along with j. So in this case the 6th element is actually 5. So now data is equal to 5. Okay, so j now want to improve 1 to 7. So the data is equal to 6. Okay. Next j is equal to 8. J increased by 1. J is equal to 8. The data is now 7, right? Because the 8th element is 7. Okay, so right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th element is equal to 7, and we keep increase 1. Data now equal to 9. So j now is equal to 9. We increase j by 1, so j is equal to 9. Now the data gonna move next, so data is equal to 8. 8 is target, is equal to target. So at here we're gonna return j. Okay, return j. So to return j, we're gonna use the method of data.index of target. Okay, so here we're gonna break through the loop, because we have found j equal to target, j is equal to 9, and the target is okay. Just wait a minute. So sorry, say some mistake on the code on my side. So to find out the position of the target, we have to compare data number j with target. So if the data number j is equal to target, then we print out j, right? Not the previous code that I have put out. So here, exactly as the analysis here, the data number j equal to 9 is equal to data equal to 8, which is the target. So then we return j, okay? We then return j, and that is 9. That's actually 9, okay? So that's the answer for this code. Yes. So we can find out the position of the target in the list, even though we have repetitions. Okay. Lastly, we're gonna have the for loop. So we're gonna print the separation line. So lastly, the for loop. So when we want to add all the value inside data, so when the total, we set total to be 0, and for value in data here, we just add that value to total. So firstly we add 0, then we're gonna add 1, then we're gonna add 2, and we're gonna add 3, we're gonna add 4, and add 2 number 5 in, and 6, 7, and 8 to the total. So first of all, total is equal to 0. Then total plus 1, right? And then total plus 2, because 2 is the number inside the list, right? Inside data, total plus 2. So here's data. So total now plus 2, and then plus 3, plus 4, and fix it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and next count. So now total equal to total plus 2, so plus 3, so plus 4, plus 5, and we're gonna plus 5 2 times, right? Plus 5 here, so plus 5 here 2 times, then plus 6 here, then plus 7, then plus 8, then plus 9. Okay, so now here 0 plus 1 is 1, and plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15, 20, 26, 33, 41, and 50, right? So the total will totally to 50 at the end when we execute these algorithms. Okay, so for this for loop, first of all we set total to be 0, and then for value in data we just keep adding the value into the total. So for the first element adding 0 plus 0 is 0, then 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 plus then next element, and 0 plus 2 is 1 plus 2 is 3, 0 plus 3, so next total plus 3, so 3 plus 3 is 6, and it's gonna keep adding up until we reach the final value of 50. So there was some mistake in today's exercises. I'm gonna fix it and I'm gonna post it up. So thank you very much.